Muting.
turn my lights on.
Oh, that's a turn.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I don't want to turn your lights off. That's right. That's for sure. I don't want
All
to
right,
turn.
Jan. I think we're on the air. Are we on the air, Jan?
I don't. Well, we're on the cloud. I don't know if we're on the air.
Okay, we're on the cloud. All right.
That's welcome to the SoundBroker Mastermind support group here for the industry, us industry professionals dealing with the concert industry, live touring, install, whatever we have that saves things for posterity's sake, or broadcast live to the world. So there we are. And I want to wish you all, in case I forget later, but I want to wish you all a very happy and a merry new year. 2021 is just about us. This is the last show of the year for us. This is the last meeting of the year, but we will meet again next year. God willing, basically, that's what it'll be. And the only other housekeeping things that I have is, number one, is everybody here has their own opinion, and what we say may or may not be true. This might be. It's up to you to determine what's real and what's imagined, because as we say, if it's really, really, really imagined well, you can't tell the difference between your imagination and what is real. So there you go. With that in mind, and what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, if you like this, click the like button on Facebook and YouTube or what have you, and remember to share the link. And if you want to join us on the panel, just send me a DM and we will send you an invite so that you could be part of the discussion. And with that, welcome to the Mastermind group. So it is an interesting time of year for us because of this. The new Restart Act was passed in Congress, and so there's $900 billion floating around. And just by show of hands, how many people got a taste of that money so far? No one.
Wait, that's not the Restart Act, is it, Jan? That's not the Restart Act.
Restart didn't pass.
Just got a relief bill passed, but it's just a
look. If you believe it hard enough, it'll be real. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Okay, Jan. Hi, Bruce.
So I've been
you're in your car, huh?
I've been inundated with emails from Michael Strickland, which is really good. And also this group called NITO, we'll put the link in the chat. Basically, what's going on with that is they are the ones that are really doing an awful lot of work for us in regards to making it happen. And of course, now there are a few things that are going on right now that have passed. Does anybody have any access to any of that information? Does anybody know anything about it? Anybody want to share that? Nobody? Well, I happen to have it. If I can only find it in my browser. If my browser will open, it'll be great. Come on, browser, open up. Some reason I'm having trouble with my computer today. Why would that be on all days today? There it is. Let's open it there. And it's just disappearing. Whatever is going on, I can't get to my news.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by any details on. There's a lot of stuff that was in that bill.
Yeah, Mike.
Okay. So there was foreign aid. There was a $121 million loan to the government of Egypt. There was a whole bunch.
You know why, Mike? You know why we're doing that when our citizens are hurting so bad? Do you know what the premise is behind that?
I do know. But you asked Mike, so let's see what Mike has to say.
I wonder what Mike has to say.
Mike pointed at you.
Okay.
I actually don't know why we're loaning the government of Egypt money, but
Okay.
I mean, I thought we owed trillions of dollars to China or something.
Yeah, the reason we're giving this money away to these people is it's all regarding to the virus. That's all, because if all countries in the world don't get a hang on the virus, and we can't end it on a global basis, it doesn't matter what we do in the United States, it'll keep coming back. So we have to support the rest of the world with the World Health Organization, and that's why we're giving them the money. Now, whether or not the money that's going to Sudan and going to Egypt and going to various countries, whether it gets to use for the for the virus protection and vaccine, will only time will tell. But
if you remember correctly, we are no longer a part of the WHO. We were yanked out of that agreement, number one. Number two, all this pork fat that gets added in by every senator and congressman is because of whatever agreements they have with their constituents overseas to take care of them. And this is their way of making their promise good and taking care of them, which is the result of kickbacks of people putting money into their coffers. So anybody could say whatever they want, that it's us helping Egypt. Bull. It's our government helping our government as usual.
Well, there you go. And there is the reason for lobbyists right there. If there was ever a reason for lobbyists to steal the money from the American people, to give it away to people who really don't need it. That's what
They're right up there
the
with
American way.
attorneys. They're going to argue whatever you pay them to argue. Doesn't matter.
I think George Washington started it by giving the money to the French, and then of course, what did we get out of it? We got Louisiana purchase. I mean, look at it now. I mean, maybe we can give it back to the French.
And we got independence. Because
yes,
without the French Navy, that's unlikely that we would probably all still be colonists.
Well, speaking with a French accent's not a bad thing. It's very sexy. But let's go back. I found my notes here. So basically, the president signed the COVID relief bill, and first the enhanced unemployment program. So everybody's going to get what, 300, 600, whatever it is. And now, of course, in the Senate, Bernie Sanders is threatened to filibuster to get the $1,200 to everybody, or the $2,000 to everybody, by holding up the money for our Defense Department. That's kind of interesting thought process. I mean, they really need the money. All the Republicans want to see money go to the military, which, of course, our military gets more money than the next 50 militaries combined. And so they need more money. And Bernie Sanders is threatening to hold it up if we don't give people $2,000 apiece. But it's not everybody that's going to get $2,000 apiece. It's only people that make under a certain amount of money.
75K, I think, is the number.
75K.
Right. Yeah. So, and if you make more than 99, you get zero.
Yeah, that's right. And so basically, it's a good way to find out what people make. That you're always curious what kind of money these people make. Say, all you got to do is say, "Hey, did you get that $2,000?" And if they say no, they're making a lot of money. And then
or they have a really good. They could have a really good accountant too, because that's the adjusted gross income. After all your expenses and stuff. So, could be an accounting miracle.
What could
made $1 million, but their adjusted gross is 50.
Yeah. Anyway, it's tied to 1099 workers as well. And so basically you divide your last year's 1099 wages by 12, multiply it by 2.5, and that's what you receive. And then there's a $100,000 annual maximum for use of it gets complicated. You probably need an accountant for this. And then, of course, the next is around the PPP for everybody. And the Treasury Department now will have 10 days to figure out how it's going to be distributed and all the rules and regulations that are going on. And of course, there is an assumption of forgiveness. It will be simplified, and loans under $150,000 are almost automatically forgiven absent fraud. And I guess that's where they're going after me right now, as they're accusing me of fraud on the loan. But
because you're such a fraudulent guy, you have such a history of fraud and deception.
Meanwhile, now, not that I want to just vent on this thing, but this has been going on since 9/16, and not one letter, not one text, not one anything that tells me why Bank of America, not only why have they taken the money, but that they've even taken the money. There is nothing, absolutely no paperwork whatsoever on this trail. And now I'm just getting more and more frustrated every second of every day, because those people that say they were going to help me, they're not even getting back to me. It's like, damn caller ID. I hate it. You can't get through to anybody.
Very upsetting.
So anyway.
So the question I have is, what's the chances that Bernie Sanders' approach to getting more money for us civilians will succeed? Zero chances of success?
It's already dead.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
It's dead before it was even born. I thought the Republicans were against abortion. How could this happen? I don't get it.
Each one of these people, if you look at all the posturing, You got Mitch posturing to hold off and push this vote off and do that. You got Bernie doing his It's all posturing. It's the level of bullshit by our government in the last quite a while now it's astounding. It would be comical if it was any other country than the one that you depend upon. And actually, no, it wouldn't be comical. It'd be sad. But here, it's scary.
Well, it is scary, and I hope that there's a change coming down the path. But right now, it just seems like everything in Congress, everything in that Senate is focusing on one thing, and that is that election in Georgia, and that is on the 5th. So we will see what that brings. But hopefully, Mike, you said it's dead. Why is it dead? I was just listening to the news a little while ago, and it seemed Bernie was going to filibuster.
Basically, under Senate rules, Bernie has to ask to bring the bill up for discussion, and then at which point he could filibuster that bill, and then block any opportunity to vote. But McConnell simply objected to his request, and the deadline, the time span that is allowed to overcome Mitch McConnell's objection is longer than the remaining time of this session of Congress. So basically, it will simply expire.
It's the same thing he's doing by not bringing the other things to light. He's running out the clock so that the time this Senate's done, it won't be back. It won't happen. It's the same thing of why everybody's looking at Georgia, because if they hold the Senate, he's already made it very clear that just like now, there's over 300 bills sitting on his desk that will never see the light of day. He will continue to do the same.
Yeah.
They'll let nothing move forward under his administration.
I heard that he added some pork into that bill so that it would poison the bill so that the Democrats couldn't vote for it.
It wasn't pork. Trump asked.
Was it lobster?
And at the end of the day, I don't know if Trump knew what he was doing or not. So he asked for the $2,000. Then he also asked for the repeal of Section 230. Then he also asked for something else. I forget.
It's an election investigation.
Oh, yeah. An election fraud commission. So by asking for all three of those things in his tweet, there is no single large enough group of senators or Congress people that support all three of those. So he created three factions voting against each other. And Mitch McConnell said, okay, if that's what you asked for, I'll put all three of those up as one bill.
It was the triple poison pill.
Yeah, and therefore it will never ever make the floor, because you will never find any 2 or 3 senators to bring a bill that has all three of those elements in it to the floor.
And let's remember that a lot of the things within this bill that he complained about were brought up and put in there by his own White House staff. So clearly, he has no idea what's going on in his own.
But the other part that I found ironic is Pelosi and Schumer were complaining that they put conditions to the $2,000 when yet they passed this other bill spending all the money all over the place with all the other conditions in it. So, I mean, it's the left hand and the right hand doing the same game, and it's all posturing.
They're both doing it. It's the when they call it bipartisan, it just means that every single person that's allowed to vote was able to add whatever their pet bullshit was to it for them to agree to approve it. That's all it ever comes down to. I won't do this unless you put this in there.
Yep, you're right. Washington is the only place where where one of the pet stores features bullshit, where they could go out and actually pick up bullshit and bring it home with them. Unbelievable.
Hey, you can buy any politician. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to put into their campaigns and however you're going to get past it. But I mean, favors are bought and paid for in Washington.
Yeah, I think that's been, if I remember correctly, that's been around almost since they figured out a way how that instead of being volunteers, they were able to get some money to make themselves because in the beginning, Washington didn't want any official politicians. He wanted everybody to be volunteers to be in the government, and then somehow they figured out a way how to bamboozle the money out, and ever since that, they've been bamboozling money forever.
It's called a political action committee. That's their way of bamboozling.
That's
Political
really when
action.
things got bad, is when corporations became people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Thomas
Nobody
Jefferson
says
opposed that.
Amazon without saying Bezos. Nobody says Microsoft without saying Gates. That's always going to be identified now.
Damn,
But
I'm in
you
that
can
same boat. Nobody says SoundBroker without saying Landy. Unbelievable.
Right.
I get it.
But you can,
Landy who?
I could say Citizens for a Progressive Action Committee on Conservative Values all day long. And not only would you not know who's behind it, you don't have a right to know who's behind it. But yet they dumped $47 billion into somebody's reelection campaign.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well,
So now-
that one in particular, there's a lot of churches involved in that one, surprisingly.
Oh, I just made that name up, but okay.
Oh, well, that's good.
No,
Well,
I'm talking about the
there's a lot of
game.
make-believe churches involved in that.
I'm talking about the game, not the individual whatever. This is how churches got into politics.
And we have to separate, in case anybody doesn't remember their history, the separation of church and state was not to protect the churches from the state. It was to protect the state from the churches. That's what it was all about. And, somehow that got twisted around as well in these days. But hey, earlier I said that Save Our Stages was included, and I see it looks like it is, because what type of entities are eligible? It looks like Save Our Stages did get into the bill, because it says here.
Yes.
Not
You said
the restart.
restart,
You had
right?
mentioned restart.
Oh,
earlier.
restart. But Save
Yeah,
Our
restart
Stages did
didn't
get
they?
in.
Right, for sure.
Right. Okay, there we go. So
Save
there's
Our
some-
Stages was the NEVO one for the small venues and what have you that are still around, that if they qualify, they can get something.
Right. So live performance venues, operators and promoters, performing arts organizations, theatrical producers, talent representatives, motion picture theater operators, and nonprofit museums. That's what it looks like was that's what it looked like was included. And we have a link to this to the Save Our Stages stuff. And so that's about the size of it. So that's it for me with that. Anybody have anything else they want to say about Save Our Stages?
Not Save Our Stages, but Restart is the one that we really all want. And it's the one that will benefit pretty much every small business across the country, regardless of type or industry that they're in. Save Our Stages is fine, but in the grand scheme of things, it impacts just a minute amount of organizations. So any of you who are active in any way politically, or even if it's just posting on Twitter or Instagram, Restart is the bill that will lift all small businesses, regardless of type or industry or size, out of recession. That's the one we want. We want Restart.
What do you guys say to the? Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
After speaking to government officials here about that, they point blank have said, and this is at the state level, has said that nobody at this point is going to bring up another relief bill after what's happened here to get this done, and now coming with the inauguration, point blank, to not hold the breath of anything of that stature coming through.
Oh, I would agree. We're done with anything major until January 21st or the afternoon of January 20th, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see his administration coming out of the gate trying to say, I want to spend another $1 trillion and give it away, and that going over well. I just think right now this is something everybody's going to shy away from at this point and try to figure out what this vaccination. It's like I told everybody, though, anything with the government, push 90 days past whatever they claim. And we're already seeing that now with the supposed vaccination dates. Although my daughter got her first inoculation last week, so.
Not like we haven't had 9 fucking months to figure this out, right?
Is she a nurse, Chris?
Yeah, she's frontline. She sees and tests for COVID and goes out to testing facilities and does small communities as a whole and all that. Yeah.
So she must not be in Florida, because the governor in Florida just decided frontline workers, nope, we're just going to go with the senior citizens first.
No, she was born in Florida, but I consider the 10 years that I like to say I served my sentence. I did a 10-year sentence in Florida and got the hell out. But no, she's in the Northwest now. We live in a small community. They're one of the larger providers in the communities.
Nice. Well, thank her for her service, please.
Yeah, thank her. So what's next? What's next on the agenda for people here? Does anybody have any New Year's shows that they're working on? Anybody have anybody whatsoever? Anybody?
I hope everybody says no. No, I mean, I'm sorry if it's a financial hardship, but I really hope nobody's going to do a New Year's show, at least not live in person.
I've been doing a pre-New Year's. Today, I would have been mixing 4 to 5 blues bands. We always did for about 8 years straight. And I've been sending texts out yesterday telling some of the guys on my crew what time we're loading in, just messing with them all. But no, there's nothing.
That's fun. That's fun to have a good sense of humor amongst this madness.
We're doing
stuff.
So has anybody heard about Kiss doing a show in Dubai?
Hang on, Jan. I think Thomas has a show he's doing.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm on this, I got my COVID cop certification. So I'm on this TV project that I drive up to Santa Rosa on that actually starts on the 1st. In LA County, they just shut down all TV and film, but so far north of San Francisco, they haven't done so. So far it's still a go. And it's like a 3 to 4 week project with Guy Fieri, the cooking guy.
Yeah, he's been doing all his cooking shows from his home studio. He has a
so it starts at his house and then they move out from there.
And so Santa Rosa is up near San Francisco?
North of San Francisco. Yeah, I'm just going to drive up.
So you're going to have to spend 3 to 4 weeks in Napa Valley? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's it's hard duty, but somebody's got to do it.
I'm guessing they're not going to
If it doesn't
provide a hotel
bring
room.
down, it's a great gig.
Napa is not what it was after those fires.
No.
So it's not the nice retreat it once was anymore.
Yeah, and when you're doing TV shoots, it's not it's 10 to 12 hour days anyway. So
it's hotel set.
Jan, you brought up one of the biggest positives of 2020 for me, that I hope it is the final end of Kiss, because they are the worst band ever to go play it, so.
I don't know. I mean, I think they have like 1 or 2 hits, but I want to rock and roll all night.
Pure shit. That's what they are.
It's like it is. They really
and theatrics, right, Chris? There's a bunch of theatrics there that
you know what? I'm okay with theatrics, but when you actually claim you're a musical artist and you're the asshole the level that Gene is, and the music's that bad, if you told me it was a play or something, I'd go along with it. But when you try to claim you're a musician, I'm calling bullshit. I saw them the first time. In 1979 or 78, I saw him in Perth, Australia, and I walked out going, "What the hell was that? That sucked." And
you just made the highlight reel, Chris.
Is this a recording session?
If they walked into my studio, I'm forcefully saying no, not gonna fucking happen.
Anyway,
good for pyro companies, okay? Pyro companies do well off of Kiss.
Yeah, and so Jan, you think they're doing a show on New Year's Eve in Dubai?
They are doing a show in Dubai. They're streaming it live through, I believe, Live Nation's involved in this, and they're streaming from Dubai.
Look, there it is. Tina just put it in the chat. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it looks like they're charging a lot of money.
Well, $39.99 you can stream the concert.
But there are different pricing structures, and I believe there are different pricing structures. And right now, I'm surprised that there are so many artists making a lot of money streaming. It's beyond me.
The 1%ers are, but generally everybody else. I just was on another webcast we were talking about what percentage of the market share virtual and hybrid will hold, but most people don't look at this as a whole. The general person in the United States has less than $500 invested in their home audio system. The big majority is just a sound bar. So people paying $69 to watch a show, it's when everybody else is home using their broadband, slowing it down, buffering and sounding like shit. It's not going to be something that holds a large market share moving forward. It just it doesn't work.
So,
it's kind of like
tell
drive-in shows.
Tell me about that
You
Dua
can come
Lipa.
to my house and watch it, but I don't like most of y'all that much, so don't.
Dua Lipa attracted many millions of fans to pay for her concert, right? And she did well with that, we heard, right?
No, I heard that she didn't do well with that, but I heard it was like that it cost her like 1.7 million, but I don't think she got the money back that she was expecting, as a matter of fact.
I thought I heard that there were many millions of viewers at whatever, $10 a pop or something. So
did you see what Garth Brooks did? He did a virtual concert. However, here's the deal. He did 3 of them. None of them were live shows. They were all recorded shows. He made a fortune on them, but none of them were actually broadcast live. It was all pre-recorded material.
And that was at drive-ins, right?
Yeah, but it was all pre-recorded stuff. None of it was actually live at all.
And did they charged money for that, huh?
Oh yeah, he made a killing on it, but he made sure it was done in a very controlled atmosphere and manner, and then put out.
It should. It explains it when you understand that Garth Brooks' degree from Oklahoma State University was in marketing.
Yeah, he's look, the twang in his voice when he first started singing was a pure thought and on purpose, but not natural.
Well, he's definitely crossed over many different places.
He's a great guy, and he's one of the guys that have kept his entire crew on through this whole thing. Garth is a great guy. He's a great businessman, but he gets it. His crew, he's one of those guys that nobody ever leaves once they work for him, unless you're the idiot, because it's definitely not Garth in that camp. That's the problem. They're on point, those people. They're good people.
He's an entertainer, not a performer as much, not a musician. He knows how.
That's correct. That's correct. He's a showman. Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching him.
Kurt has a serious question. Did you see that question there, Jan?
No, have me
Let me
bring
read
it up.
Let me read it to the class. I'll read it to the class. Kurt is wondering if anyone has a good strategy for keeping the equipment finance people at bay. He says, I've been able to get deferments since May, but they're getting more and more difficult to keep going, and I have to explain the whole industry from scratch every time they contact me. Anybody have those experiences and some way to deal with it?
We just got off with several finance companies about this, and I think I brought it up one of the times I appeared here, that what's about to hit us, and not enough people are talking about it. The amount of litigation that's going to hit this country from every aspect. We're talking about breach of lease, breach of agreements, breach of finance, car notes, just across the board is going to be insane. Our local courts won't even be able to handle it. Sheriffs with 3-day or quit notices across the nation are going to be nailed, because here's the deal. When you take a loan on gear, you might be going through one finance organization. However, it's underwritten, and whoever's underwriting that's going to go after who you went through. So this is just the trickle down economics here, that you're unfortunately at the shit end of the stick because you took out the loan. But the people hounding you are getting hounded by the people that back them and underwrite theirs.
So
now,
Chris,
what they're trying to do.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Unless they have a UFCC1 filing on your gear in your location or at a specific site, they can't touch it.
That's right. It would have to go through the entire system and process for them to come and repo any gear. And that's a long ways down, because right now everybody's looking at it. All the gear that everybody in here has been holding on to for a year is a year older. It's not worth it. It's kind of like, I think there was an episode Dave Ratt was talking about, how do you take a $3 million loan on this type of gear, but for 3 years? Well, the problem is in 3 years, that gear isn't worth $3 million anymore. So the loan is a stupid idea to start out with. But that going forward, they're going to try and find anybody solvent that will make any payments and get that, because they can't even afford to send people after the gear. There's so many breach of agreements.
Call their bluff.
So you got 50.
Call their bluff, because they're not going to collect your gear. I guarantee you, they're not coming after your gear. Just call their fucking bluff.
You're just a number on a list that they're going down trying to get what they can.
Yeah, I
And
tell them
for all
every
you
time
know,
they
that
call.
finance company might not be there in 2 months either. So
I'll say this as someone who in 10 years ago did Chapter 7 on my first contracting business. If they do call your bluff and they do come and take your gear, give it to them, because good chance you'll be able to find the same or better for pennies on the dollar on the open market in a few months. You might even end up buying your own gear back for less than what you owed on the note. It's because this challenge is going to happen over and over and over again, where they're taking gear in, but who's buying it? Nobody's buying it. And then they're going to be like, what do we do with it? So 2-3 months down the road, liquidation sites are going to be not packed, but you'll be able to find AV gear all day long at liquidation sites in spring.
there's also going to be a lot of hungry lenders, money flying around to try and get economy going, because your credit right now, over 40 million people's credit is about to take a 60 to 80 point hit, no matter what, of all these people that have all these problems financially. So coming out of this, we're going to be even looking at credit ratings completely different, because everybody's going to go, well, yeah, you got screwed. You got screwed. Yeah, it's going to be the common theme across the board. So how are you going to say, well, you've got terrible credit, you didn't pay your car for 6 months? Well, the government told me I couldn't work for a year. So that everything's going to be looked at.
Same thing happened to me in 2011, 2012, 2013. Once I got the BK was finalized and we were kind of moving along a little bit, I tell people I have a BK and they go, yeah, who doesn't? We don't care.
So what I would be concerned about if I were Kurt, and maybe Kurt, you can clarify this, is are they going to come after your personal assets, like if you own a house? Are they going to put a lien on your house or anything like that?
I think I'm okay with that. And I don't I tell them every time, well, you're going to have to send a semi and a bunch of guys and load up this big Meyer rig, and where are you going to put it and who are you going to sell it to?
Well, they have to go to, before all that, they'd have to file to the court. It would have to go through the court. The court would have to have the time to overlook it. Then the court would have to decide that you purposely went against it and that there's no way for mediation here. Under the current circumstances, the court's going to look at the entire industry was shut down. He didn't go out of his way to not pay this. There's nothing solvent about this situation. They throw it back to mediation. The mediators are slammed. That's a 6-month process. You're 9 months before a court or anybody is going to make any decision about your equipment.
On a good day. At
that time, between now and then, you could call them back and say, you know what? It's only worth this now. I only owe this now. You could renegotiate the whole situation out, set up cheaper loans with a less balance, because they're not going to come take that gear and figure out a place to sell it.
I'll also say this, the court systems are going to be so jammed up that it's going to be hard to get something like that even into the courts.
The courts are already jammed up because they're working off a skeleton staff. And we haven't even hit all the filings.
One thing I might suggest, though, have you considered, Kurt, an SBA loan, which might be a lower interest rate than what your previous loan was, to cover your previous loan?
I have it. I'm sitting on it to try to survive long enough to be able to.
Okay.
Because because I got an SBA loan just because they said, oh, we'll offer it to you, and they gave me an SBA loan of a substantial amount of money, and I've been, I haven't used it at all, but the SBA loan is what, 3.75% or something.
I did
so
it.
It's not bad, and it's payable over 30 years, so
Yeah, I've got that, and I'm, they don't know I have that, and they don't need to know I have that, because I'm trying to use it to keep the warehouse and keep everything afloat.
Well, let's hope they're not watching this Zoom meeting.
They won't.
They don't know what
they
our
won't be.
even is. I highly doubt that. I got to start every conversation. It's always a different person. It's never the same person. And I got to start with, I'm not a DJ. And then I got to work my way from there and have a 45-minute education experience with somebody in a cubicle.
So does they have
every single time.
Good, Ken.
Do they have a blanket UCC1 on the assets of the company, or just on those individual serial numbers?
Or do they even have a UCC filing?
I need to look into it all. I believe I do, because I think in Washington State, it's kind of like, they do that.
Pretty much.
But the UCC filing has to be perfected. Oftentimes, these companies do not perfect the filing correctly. So if you check on that, because they may not have a properly perfected UCC1 filing. I've seen it happen.
They may not have perfected it at all, because many of them get it and never actually file it. It's like it's a procedure they make you actually go through, but that never actually gets ratified. So it's nothing. And in Washington State, I'm also in Washington State. There's so many ways that even locally right now, credit unions are begging anybody, and you can negotiate a buyout of your gear less, take a cheaper loan at better rates, defer payments out 3 months. You've got a lot of alternatives to look into.
Okay, I'll look into the filing, and yeah, they only have the rest of the company's fine. 90% of my inventory is owned.
You know what? If you took the balance of your inventory right now that you have in the loan, right? Structure out what it's worth used, figure wholesale from that, knock another 35 points off of that. That would be the best they could try and get a year from now at auction, and they wouldn't even get that. So if you found another situation and offered a buyout at considerably less, they're going to look at that as a better alternative than you saying, screw it, come get a truck. Because then they've got to, all of a sudden they're in the gear game. They don't want to be in the gear game.
Oh, I know
they want to get out from it. Yeah, they want to get out from it. So they're going to look at the current situation. You can make a deal. You could come out of this better than you are now with a little work put into it.
Right. And two things I will say. Number one, remember the disclaimer. Everything we say may or may not be true. That's number one. And number two, I want to point out the fact that in the used gear business, I might know a little bit about this, but it's something called supply and demand. And because right now there is no demand and the supply is great, the prices will come down. And so basically what you have right now might not be worth as much as when things come back, when the value becomes greater, because the demand for the gear will be greater. Right now, the demand is very low. The supply is very high, so the price is low. It will reverse as soon as we get back. And I realize now that the vaccines now are starting to spread in a great number. For example, China now has a new vaccine that's they're having success with. AstraZeneca is in England. Martin, you're in England right now. What are you hearing about the AstraZeneca vaccine?
It isn't approved yet. They say that I have approval in a week's time.
But it looks good, right?
Yeah, a lot of people think that they would prefer to go with that because the history that Pfizer has, a lot of people don't trust Pfizer, but vaccine's a vaccine. They're all going through a similar testing process. They're being fast tracked, but over here we have this variant 1 and variant 2, which are different strains as the virus mutates, but it's still the same. If you catch it, it's the same outcome, is that you're either going to have ongoing effects. The vaccine, they say, does protect you from both variant strains, but that's the latest from over here.
They're saying that the new strain is more communicable. It just spreads faster.
Yeah.
Right
They're
now,
saying the AstraZeneca vaccine is the least expensive of them all and doesn't need refrigeration other than a regular refrigerator, where all the rest do need a little bit more refrigeration.
That's right.
I think Johnson & Johnson, and also I think AstraZeneca is 1 shot, not 2. Is that possible?
Yes, I believe that's the case. As you say, the transportation of it is a lot more straightforward.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Rogaine to come out with the vaccine, and if it doesn't work, at least you grow hair, and so that could work for me as well, so.
Too late.
Craig, I see you're on the waiting list for the Rogaine vaccine.
With a side of minoxidil.
Martin, thanks.
I tried that when I was a kid, and not good.
A great way to end all these people that say that they don't trust taking any of these medications. Tell them you want to talk about that when they become middle-aged and become a little dysfunctional, of whether or not they're going to start turning to that medication.
That's right.
I'm
thinking about turning to Prevagen.
I think a COVID passport will become part of the industry we're in, because if you don't, there's people in my industry saying, if I have to take the vaccine, then it's time for a change. I'm going to find a new business. But I think if this continues, is that even if you're going for a job with a blue chip company, they're going to want to know that you've had the vaccine shot, because why would they bring you into their building?
It's interesting that you should say that. And I want to point out something, because right now, I was just reading an article about it, and I try to save it, but for some reason I screwed that up. But there is now a big movement with airlines, so that you will have to be vaccinated. Also, concerts, whatever, that you're going to have to prove that you've been vaccinated before you're going to be able to fly, before you're going to be able to go to a concert, before you're going to be able to go to any big public space. And they're going to do that with an app on your, so you're going to, just like what they're doing in China right now, you have to have an app when you go out to show that you've been vaccinated. And it's inevitable that it's going to happen right now.
The ACLU is already all over this, because number one, first off, now you're being discriminatory against poor people that can't afford a phone that can provide an app like that, number one. Number two, anything that goes past that, you're just getting into the same guys making t-shirts in the vans and selling them in the parking lots, or our all access passes that are being printed up in the back of the same van. You're going to get into the black market of it. Any real thing that's going to hold any validity to the security or safety that it can't be duplicated costs way too much than our government's going to implement. And 35% of US people think it's all a hoax and aren't going to get the damn thing anyways. So all of this is, it's back to everybody's coming up with the ideas. And in the concert industry, we've all been talking about this. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You can't tell people if you didn't do this, because you're just not going to sell tickets. It's plain and simple. What you're saying right now would work to certain genres. I guarantee you the country market would lose 90% of sales.
Well, it's going to be a vaccine, it's going to be a vaccine passport. And so, yeah, we have American passports. We have British passports. Every country issues passports.
We already have a vaccine passport. It's the little yellow card that we've all had since we were 2 years old or whatever. And the edges are all frayed. They're just going to be a modern digital version of that.
What card is that?
But we've all, probably everybody on this phone call has got a little mark on their arm right here from having
polio, was that?
Small polio
box.
Polio inoculation, and that was intentionally made with a mark so that they could be identified who had it and who didn't. So when you walked into school in your second grade year and you were sick, the nurse could pull your sleeve up and tell them whether or not you had the vaccine. The international consortium that controls the passports has already said that passports by the end of 2021 will have a COVID inoculation identification marking on it. It will be embedded within all the passports, and US has signed off onto that. There will be some sort of tracking on this, but the challenge versus the polio inoculation with this, the inoculation that we're receiving for COVID is only good for 1 year. So we've got to figure out how to track that like the flu shot. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to have to take some assumed risk. I'm a high risk candidate right now. So, I mean, with this second variant, I'm starting to get a little bit more isolated than I was with the first variant. But we're all adults. We're going to have to make our own calculation of assumed risk, but there will be some sort of monitoring or tracking so that you can identify who had it and who hasn't. And I think the ACLU will lose the lawsuits, anything that they try on that.
It's not the ACLU that's trying the lawsuit. It's just, I mean, let's look at this just at the offset of any financial structure at all. Forcing 300 million people and then overseeing 300 million people and instituting procedures of this oversight and control of 300 million people and an inoculation, I don't see it possible by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, there'll always be people that will slip through the cracks, but the reality is that the people who are going to be flying on planes are going to have you're not going to get on a plane without having that passport.
So,
I mean, I can't leave this country without showing my passport to the ticket agent at the airport.
But you can't force 300 million people to take a shot, number one. And number two, it's real easy for companies to say, well, then we won't serve you. Well, when you look at the amount of this population that's 100% against this, you will see a massive financial failing if all those people don't. Number one, that's the byproduct, because the first problem you're going to have is when you tell people, no, you're taking this shot no matter what, then you're going to see some real problems. Well, I'm all for the vaccine. Right. I'm crazy high risk. I've had 5 damn heart attacks. But I'm also not ignorant to the fact that we have a shitload of ignorant people in this country that would rather fight and start bullshit than go along.
So no, there's plenty of people believe that the election's not over. There's homes in my neighborhood that still have Trump signs in front of them. But so you're right about that. But the reality is that if you want to get something done, and then you are going to leave those people behind. It's almost as if it's like education right now, because the rich people their children are getting educated better, and they're getting more education, proper education, and those people are going to have better jobs. There's always going to be room for the menial labor, and so yeah, those people that don't want to get the vaccine, we only need a certain population to get the vaccine to put it into check, and that's the most important thing.
So the other part that you got as a result of 9/11 is every state has to have a real ID. One of the parts with the real ID, just like the passport, is that there is ways that they can do manipulation. I can't tell you how many times in North Carolina, when I go and work in a school in North Carolina, I scan my driver's license when I walk into that school. That school pulls my entire record, and within that record, if I were to have anything associated with child litigation issues, if I'm a sex offender or anything else, I'm flagged before I even get into the school, because that's associated with my ID. I don't know where your airports are now, but Charlotte has been beta testing for the last year. I don't even present my ticket when I go to TSA now. They scan my driver's license, and my driver's license pulls up my ticket. So there are ways that they can tie that together with your driver's license.
Move to Utah. We can't go to a bar without scanning your driver's license.
I used to have my stripper card in Utah.
Membership card.
Because you had to have a separate card to perform in a club in Utah.
Brian, do you have pictures?
Oh my God, my mind will never be clean again. Oh God.
That's what they called them, even though we were performing artists, Jan. So what'd you ask, Tom?
I said, do you have pictures of that time period? Because Jan is going to want to see those.
Well, like I said, we don't know what's true and what's false, and it doesn't matter. All we are is sharing what we want to share.
Hey, well, Craig's there. That's what they always called them when they come in. If you were the band or the sound engineer, that's what they said. Yep. Present it.
We all had to join the club. We had to become a member of the club to have a beer that day, I remember.
Right.
Speaking of Utah, I thought it was interesting that it was just Craig, what was it, like 2 years ago that the Zion shields came down at the bars? So for those of you who've never been to Utah, if you wanted to order a drink at a bar, you could sit at the bar, but there was a plexiglass wall between you and the bartender, and you would ask for your beer or whatever, and then he or she would pour it and then walk out of the bar and bring it to you as if you were sitting at a table. So you would be ordering your beverage from 18 inches away, but it would take 30 feet of walking to bring it to you. Well, those shields just came down. Finally, the law changed like 2 years ago, right?
It's been longer than that, but I remember it clearly. I've been here 15 years when I left Shure and came here.
And I just remember thinking when all this started back in March and April, I was like, well, they're just going to put them all right back up.
They're back up now for safety reasons. Yeah.
Well, Craig, I was doing a club in Ogden, and we ended with Metallica's Sandman on that set. And I had the drum kicker so loud that I knocked 20 bottles off the wall behind the bartender. And he was pissed because he had to get the camera out because now he had all this unmetered alcohol on the floor.
Yep.
New Orleans is way ahead of it. They had Go Cups for alcohol years and years before we have it now. Right, Steve?
So
We have drive-through daiquiri stores, man. Come on.
Hey, North Carolina's just caught up now. We can now, the bars can now sell mixed drinks to go in North Carolina because of COVID.
Yeah. And Las Vegas has now, not that I've been there, but Las Vegas now has drive-through stripper poles where you can actually drive through and watch strippers from your car. That's technology at its finest.
What a world!
Come on, Martin. You can't say you're not jealous of this, Martin. Come on.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the luxuries that you have in America, or the distractions, shall we say. We're at the moment where I live, we're in tier 4 at the moment, so we're just completely shut down.
Yeah, tell me about that. Tell me more about that, Martin. I had heard at one point that shows were starting to happen with socially distanced audiences. I assume that stopped.
No, everything's completely stopped. Even the musicals that Lloyd Webber was saying that he was going to get going, he had got going, and one of his theatres, I think possibly Les Mis is still going on, because one of the theatres, they have self-cleaning handles on all the doors, which, some sort of antibacterial treatment on it, and everybody is socially distanced. But all the other pantomimes that were going to start up over Christmas have all been shut down. And we've gone into tier 4. It started out and it's slowly, eventually, I think most of the country will probably be in tier 4. I think Devon and Cornwall were in tier 2, and now they've moved up the scale, and it's all because of the variant strain.
Yeah, I heard, and maybe you could clear this up for me, that the British government was subsidizing the West End. Is that true?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. I heard that.
Yeah,
and
I thought
it
that's
doesn't matter
how
whether
they
it's
did.
true or false. Just take it for my word for it. It's true.
That's what I thought I had heard was the way that those shows were able to open even with socially distanced. They had drastically reduced audiences, so naturally they're not going to take in very much money for a performance. Yeah, but I heard that they would government subsidized was the way it was able to happen.
Yeah, it's a known fact that no socially distanced event is financially viable. So if they were going ahead, I believe there were grants, there were arts grants going to the pantomimes. There were going to be 8 pantomimes that were going to open throughout the UK leading into Christmas. And then the government said, you can go to your family bubble for 2 days at Christmas, but you can't stay over. And then when tier 4 came along, is that all that got cancelled, and you can't even go to see your family. You can only go to your support bubble if you were a person that had existing health issues and you have a support network. That's the only person you could see.
And are most people adhering to those regulations?
I don't think they are. Is that the road outside my house? You would think that over Christmas it would be fairly quiet, but there was still traffic going around. I spoke to someone that's been going to London, and they said that London, you see newsreels of empty streets, but that's not the case. Oxford Street, Regent Street were packed with people because the stores are open, which is crazy.
And the stores are allowing lots of people to come in, or they have reduced capacity.
They have reduced capacity, and they will manage it. Same as the supermarkets do. They manage the number of people coming in.
I just noticed.
One person.
I know here in March, let's say, or April in the U.S., the way that they're managing the number of people entering the stores is much stronger in March and April than it is now. I mean, I don't see anybody controlling how many people go in Home Depot these days, but back in April it was.
It's all bullshit, Ken. Nobody's counting. Nobody cares. They want those people in through the doors and spending money, and that's the end of the fucking story.
Mm.
Yeah, and so it's just going to keep spreading and spreading because people are too close to each other.
Yeah, I agree.
North Carolina, they are now doing in and out counts now. I've noticed that back in the last 2 weeks. But we've also gone from a 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew daily now. So we're in 1B now. So I think, again, it's locally where the retailers, to your point, though, want as many people in the store as they can get in.
Especially around Christmas time. They wanted to get all that Christmas revenue, right?
Mm.
In SoCal, we have hospital beds in the gift shops in the hospital now. That's how good it is here.
So I heard this last week, though. McDonald's is thinking about not opening their drive-ins or their dine-ins up permanently. They've had their best quarter ever, was the fourth quarter of this year, with no dining room dining, just strictly drive-through.
It's the McRib sandwich. That's what it is. It's the McRib. I tell you.
And coming just after Hanukkah, the kosher McRib.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's a rib in that thing.
This is already depressing. This is already depressing because I came on here just to wish all you guys a happy New Year.
Well, thanks, Martin. That's very nice of you to stay up. So, what time is it where you are?
It is 2 minutes to midnight. Not that it's New Year's Eve, but it's 11:58.
How about that?
Yeah, no, tomorrow would be New Year's Eve, even for you.
Yeah.
Even for you. You know, you're ahead of us, but you're not that far ahead of us.
Not
you know,
that far
which is a
ahead.
good thing. So I'll tell you what, so what's your resolution for New Year's Eve? I mean, we might as well go around the room and see what everybody's resolution is. I mean, other than losing weight, which you don't look like you need to lose weight, what kind of resolutions do you got for yourself? Do you make resolutions?
Me, I just want to be happy and have a good life.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So let's go around. Who wants to start other than Martin? Now Martin started. Who else wants to tell us about their resolutions for the new year?
Ken will go by age. I'll go next.
Okay.
Next oldest.
All right, Grandpa. Let's go.
So my resolution is to do a live event in 2021.
I think that's all of our resolutions.
Yeah, that's a given.
Let's hope it's more than one, huh, Tom?
One would be a start. Okay. I can say I'm actually horny to do a show. That's how I feel.
Stand back, Pfizer. He's got the vaccine and a show Viagra.
The show Viagra. That's it.
Show Viagra.
So, Brian, what's your resolution for 2021?
I think Tom's got it. I jumped into this ball game in late February, early March. I've been buying all this equipment at pennies on the dollar, thanks to Jan, and I want to play with my new toys this year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I absolutely don't blame you. I would love to see that happen because, I would like to see everybody be back to work. It would be my pleasure to have everybody back to work. It would just be something that if I had a way to make it happen today, I would make it happen today. Hey, Steve Sluder, what's going on? What's your resolution for the new year?
I think I'm going to try and fish more, if that's possible, right? And
you see, now I got to stop you. I got to stop you right now. So you want to fish more, but there's nothing about the size of the fish, eh? You don't mind keep throwing them back.
Yeah, man, it tastes good. It's all good.
And
fried up some catfish today from yesterday.
Well, I just found out catfish is one of my foods. One of my foods that I could eat regularly from this.
All right, come on down.
That's good.
I gotta go. Happy New Year's, you guys.
Hey, Bruce, tell us your
Happy New Year, Bruce. What's your resolution, Bruce?
I just want to get back to work like all of you guys. I got to lose the 50 pounds that I took off that I put back on, and I want to go back to work.
Well, okay. Happy New Year, Bruce. Thanks for coming.
Happy New Year.
We'll see you next year.
Happy New Year, Bruce. See you next year.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
So, Tim, tell me what's your resolution?
To not be homicidal. That's we're starting there, and after that, it's all pretty easy, I want to do a gig too, and actually, I found out that a show for right around Valentine's Day that I had penciled in on my calendar is in fact still in pencil and has not been erased. But the the way things are going, I fully expect it to go away. On the other hand, the event normally pulls about 1,300 people, and it's been moved from ballroom to a 6,500 capacity arena. So it may still happen yet. We'll just see what happens. So I'm just, my resolution is to go out and remember how to do a show.
We hope you get your resolution come true. That for sure. Ken Porter, what's your resolution?
Figure out what I want to do next year. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just floating along.
It's interesting, but you know, I made a decision this year with all of the crap that's happening to me. I've never ever been in a position where I can't figure out what it is I want to do or how I want to handle things. So I finally have made a decision this year not to do anything but just to float around and wait till my feet come back down on the ground before I make any life-changing decisions. But that's not my resolution. That's just something I'm thinking about doing. Mike Brown, what about you? You got a resolution?
I saw your email about 30 seconds before I logged in, so I hadn't really thought about it. I will say I still, this has been an interesting year, but I consider myself pretty blessed. I've invented a new term to describe my financial position at the end of this year. I am going to be broke even. So
I thought it was
no money in the bank.
I thought it was multimillionaire.
I'm working on that. I have no money in the bank, but I don't owe anybody anything either. So I'm pretty happy with that, actually, coming out of
this. It's a good place, Mike. That's where I'm at, and it's a good place.
Broke even.
I like your hat, by the way, because
I was going to say the horns fit you well.
Yeah, the horns fit you well, man. The way that thing is in the background, it makes it look like you're wearing a hat.
Well, somebody mentioned OSU, so I had to class the joint back up a little bit by bringing the Longhorns in. So I want to have a healthy year. I want my business to be growing again, and but otherwise, I can't complain. I mean, life's been good to me so far.
Where have I heard that before? Joe Walsh. I like it. All right, he'll take some credit there. Chris, tell me, what's your resolution?
None, man. I mean, you get through 1 heart attack, 2 heart attack, 3 heart attack, and you realize that resolutions are as full of shit as the government. So,
and 1 heart attack and a 2 heart attack. It's like a Lawrence Welk.
I'll wake up tomorrow and we'll start there. And then I'll hopefully wake up the next day and I'll start there. Resolutions. How about
that's one of the best resolutions I've ever heard. That's what I've heard. Kurt, before I ask you for your resolution, I wanted to say something because I wanted to say it before when you were talking about what you were talking about with the loan companies. If you own a home, the best thing you could do is go out for $25. Usually that's all it costs, is to homestead your house. And that way they can't take that from you no matter what. So
can't do that in every state. Not all states have homesteading.
Oh, really?
Really?
Only a handful of states. Texas, Florida, a few others.
So anyway, so whoever lives in Texas, I hope your resolution is to change the law so you can homestead. There you go. All right. Kurt, what's your resolution?
Get out there and do a gig on a big analog console with more than DJ left and right as the input list.
I happen to know where some XL4s are if you decide that's what you want to do. That's a pretty big one. It's a good thing.
Yep.
Don?
Just to get back to gigging again, get things going again. And, I'm like Mike, I have to say, I'm thankful that, I'm not as in debt, as I could be. I'm not broke even yet, but maybe get broke even and get back to work doing some, shows. So that's my New Year's.
Well, that's an admirable resolution. Craig, do you have a resolution?
Yeah, my fitness has gone to shit. I've been drinking way too much, so I'm going to deal with that stuff.
Is it possible to drink too much? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Is it possible?
Well, and Utah has real beer now.
Yeah, totally. No, you know what? I'm looking forward to getting out with customers again. I have not traveled in any capacity in a year, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But I'm also, because I'm kind of broke even as well, I'm building a custom endless pool in my backyard, and I'm going to do some fundraisers. I'm going to take some people from the local community out on our boat. I'm going to start raising some money by doing endless swims in this endless pool, and I'm going to videotape everything and see if I can give a little something back. Not sure who yet to who, but I'm going to put something together.
Admirable, admirable. Alfredo? What is your resolution? Alfredo, where are you actually? Where in the world are you?
What's up, fellas? I'm in the beautiful city of Culver City, California. 5 miles out of Santa Monica. What's up, fellas?
I used to live at Mentone. I used to live at Mentone and Overland.
Hey, what's up, neighbor? Ex-neighbor. So check it. Resolution. I guess the new normal is what was it? What was the term? Broke even? I'll take it. Broke even's good. Maybe give me some stimulus, more stimulus in the checkbook, in life in general. I like working for a living. I hate that handout shit, but I'm sort of still living on my 2019s. I fucking killed it on 2019. So yeah, 2 inputs, not that fun. Yeah, I mean, there's a little work out there, but it's not enough to fucking really say, hey, I'm fucking paying 10 grand a month in rent to be in Culver City. Fucking awesome. I'm not excited about that, but I'm 800 feet from the new Amazon Prime building over here and about 1,000 feet from the new HBO facility. So I'm going to stay here until I can. And fellas, wish me luck.
Well, if you're that close, if you got into tunneling like that Mexican criminal, you know, you can get it. You'll be a rich man. You know, you would just get right underneath, and you're tunneling into Amazon. And you know, I'll tell you what I need from Amazon. I do a lot of.
Gotta pay off.
I'm gonna stay here until some fucking lands. I'm gonna go fishing. Maybe I can run into Jeff Bezos at Starbucks.
That's cool. Rod, what about you?
Well, I got into construction before I got into sound. So I built a 3-story addition on the back of my house in 2004 and ran out of money. So I've been lucky enough to finish all the decks that face the river behind my house. So now my son's into guitar and playing, and he needs a music room. So I'm just hoping that I can get through the winter and finish my basement, make a studio down there for him. But yeah, the gigs, if they come, great. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep working on the house. I'll take the time. I've always said I haven't had the time to work on my house. Now I got the time. I just got to get a little bit of cash coming in now, because I'm pretty much broke even as well. Right at the money. I'm right there even. And it's like, okay, I need a little help now. I don't want it either. I mean, you know, I've been in business 35 years like everybody else, but it's if you're going to shut me down, then you got to help me out.
Yeah,
I look at it differently than that. I figure, so the way I see it, there's this big bucket of money that the federal government is going to give to small businesses and citizens, right? And our kids are going to have to pay for it one way or the other. But even if I don't take any of that money, that bucket will be emptied. If I don't take it, somebody else will. I guarantee you that bucket will be emptied. So if I were to ask my daughter, hey, you're going to have to pay back a bunch of money that's being loaned out now, should I take some of it for us? She'd be like, heck yeah, take as much as you can. So I don't worry at all about taking money from the government. It's my money in the first place. And in terms of repaying it, it's her money. Would she rather it go to me or to a stranger? She'd rather it go to me. So I'll take my share.
Right.
I like that sentiment. I like that. And I have no kids. What do I give a crap? You know, that's it. You know, I'll take it all now if I can. Michael James.
Hi, guys. I'm not sure you can hear me. Can you?
We hear you.
Oh, good.
We barely hear you. It's almost like you're a ghost.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, lousy camera in this old laptop. No, I want to buy a new laptop, sell the rest of the gear. The truck and the house are already gone. So I'm fairly flush. I don't think I want to get back into the big stuff. I think I want to learn OBS and move into streaming and live recording.
Well, very nice. You should get involved with me then. I think that's a good thing. So I'll keep you in mind for that. It's one of the things is as the one man producer director. Oh, blah blah blah. Man, it's just too much it's just too much for me. So I would love to have somebody that knows what they're doing to assist in putting my stuff together. That
Did you
would be
just
great.
fire Ken?
Well, what happened to Ken?
Well, Ken is the hey now guy. He's the hey now.
They come and go so quickly around here.
Ken's a
There's a
producer.
revolving door.
Ken's a producer.
Ken says to me all the time, he says, well, I really like your show. I said, it's our show. But he always refers to it back as it's you. I really like your show. But,
Well,
look,
in classic producer sentiment, when the show went well, it's our show.
Yeah.
If the show went poorly, it's the talent.
Yes. Well, fortunately for me, that's not my problem because I'm being myself, and I'm myself because everybody else is taken. So I had to settle this way. But the reality is I'm enjoying who I am as a person, and I'm learning a lot. This year, I've learned an awful lot about who I am as a person because I'm with myself all the time now. And I've been able to realize that I'm not that bad of a guy, I mean, I'm able to handle it, not as well as I thought I would handle it, but I've been able to maintain some sort of sanity, although limited, but I still see the sanity involved in what I'm doing.
I got to say, there's something very funny about a man sitting there going, so I've been hanging out with myself, and I got to say, I'm not a bad guy. If only I could get out of my own way.
Yeah. Well, I'd like you to meet my girlfriend. There she is. Oh God, she's naked. I didn't realize.
It just screams therapy.
The kind they advertise on TV.
Oh yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Wasn't that Jackson Brown song?
Yeah, I got to get some. I got to get some lipstick for my fingers.
So,
Ken.
apart from keeping your job, Ken Newman, as Jan's producer, what is your New Year's resolution?
Well, that's a good question because I'm not a big fan of resolutions. But when I was thinking about it, I said, what should I try to do? And I felt like everybody said, we want to get back to work, right? But I feel like if there's some way that I can talk myself into either being more grateful or showing my gratitude to the people that I'm working with, that would be great if I can figure out how to do that. Because we've been out of work and we've been doing nothing, and I've been doing this a long time, and I'm always happy to be doing what I like doing, but even more so when we get back to work, am I going to be really a lot more happy about doing it. And I hope I can show that, and I hope I can get that message across to the people that I'm working with that, man, this is great to be doing something we like doing, and now we're back at it, So that's my resolution, is to show that a little more.
That's admirable. I have a few resolutions. Did I miss anybody? Is there anybody here that I haven't?
Paul just joined us. I want to hear what Paul has to say.
Oh, Paul, Paul, come on.
What I just got here, so I have no idea what I'm supposed to talk about.
We're talking about New Year's resolutions. Are you into New Year's resolutions, Paul?
Resolution, Paul?
Oh man, I don't have any really. I haven't thought about it. I guess I just want to keep getting fitter. I've lost almost 20 pounds, by swimming every day and working out, but I'm not going at it hard enough. So I guess I need to work at it harder, and I guess keep making lots of money. Try to make lots more money than I'm doing now on my businesses, and open some new businesses. Maybe get into sound brokering. That might be a good thing to get into. What do you think, Ken?
There's money in it. There's definitely money.
I hear sound brokering's the thing these days.
Well, it's been good to me for the last 23 years, going on 24 years now. So I can't complain. But I would say that if I was going to go into any business right now, if I didn't have the longevity that I have right now, I don't think I would go into the business that I'm doing right now. And I don't think anybody in their right mind would do it with all the competition. For the first time in my life, the competition is huge. And I always said this, I always said that it would be up to me to give up my business. Nobody's going to take it from me. Facebook, eBay, Reverb, all of the various big players now that are in the game, and still I'm making a living. So nobody can replace me in that respect.
I got Hugh Forrest lined up to be on the Office Hours show in the morning. He's the chief operating officer of South by Southwest. He's actually the guy who runs South by Southwest, and so he's going to come on in the morning. I could get him on here if you want to ever have a guest. He'd be a good.
We have
guest
guests all the time. Everybody's a guest
because he's he's what he is. He's the guy.
Okay, cool. Well, anyway, so my resolution, I have a few. One is I want to stay healthy. So I'm going to do everything in my power to stay healthy. And thanks to Tom, I found about this company called Viome, and I took the test, and I'm going to be eating foods that my body can digest easily, and that should increase my virility. Number two, my next resolution is I am never going to cut my own hair again. As you can see, I've decided that my New Year's resolution is always to go to a hairdresser rather than cut my hair myself. That's a resolution.
Hey, George Clooney cuts his own hair. He uses
And
a
number
bulb.
three is that my number 3 resolution is this year, every year I write resolutions, how much money I want to make, where I want to be, what I want to see, what I want to do. I'm very specific because resolutions are like a goal. And the more specific that your resolution is, to be terrific, you must be specific, as I've always believed. And so and this year, my last resolution is to follow up on all my resolutions so that I actually accomplish my resolutions. I learned a long time ago that the goal is not just getting there, but the idea of success is the journey towards the goal, because that's where you learn. Because once you get to the top of the pinnacle, you see another pinnacle that you want to get on top of. So that's what I see as far as my resolutions go. And I want to build this show up so that I want to let you all know that please feel free to click the like button. Feel free to share the links with people. Feel free to come and join us on the panel. And we're going to stay in the room, but I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook and YouTube and wherever else we're streaming. And I want to thank you all for coming. And I am going to remember this, that if you are a religious person and you would like to pray for somebody, one of our members, David Dansky, right now is in the hospital for a non-COVID related issue. He's got some intestine problems, and we all wish him a speedy recovery. And so if you're a religious man, please pray for David's quick recovery. And hopefully he'll be back next year with us as well. So with that in mind, remember, you make it happen. We're going to stay in the room. You'll never know what you're missing before, or you'll never know what you're missing afterwards unless you're in the Zoom room. So with that, Happy New Year, everybody who's listening. And for those people in the room, let's talk about those people.